Alyssa from the Service Learners at Cal State Monterey Bay for the Monterey County Free Libraries, and today I'm going to show you how you can make your own maple syrup cake. Really great recipe if you like loaf cakes or fall spices, and also if you just want to use up some maple syrup. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the ingredients you'll need for this recipe are pretty simple. Of course, you'll need some maple syrup. You'll need some butter. You'll need 2 eggs. And you'll need baking soda, as well as flour and some brown sugar, some cinnamon, and some ginger. And the recipe I used didn't call for this, but I like to add it whenever I cook anything fall seasoned, and it's pumpkin pie spice. And then you'll also need some, I'm using coarse salt, but you could also use like flaky sea salt, some type of thick salt crystals, because we're going to put it on the top and it'll look really nice. And then you will also need a loaf pan. Mine is a 1-pound glass one, and I've lined the inside with some foil so I could take out the cake easier. So I'm going to spray this with some oil so that the cake doesn't stick to it before I pour the batter in. So yeah, let's get into actually making it. Okay, so right about now you'll want to start to preheat your oven at 350 degrees, and we're going to begin by combining our dry ingredients. So let's start with the flour. You'll need 1.5 cups. Just got my measuring cups here. All right, and then next let's add in our baking soda. So we are going to do about 1/2 teaspoon. So here's my teaspoon. I don't really have measuring spoons, so I just use my kitchen spoons, but if you didn't know, kitchen spoons actually are measuring spoons. The smaller ones are teaspoons and the bigger ones are tablespoons. So I've got like 1/2 teaspoon here of baking soda going in. And then next, let's do our spices. So let's start with the cinnamon. So we are going to put in about 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, and next we'll need a teaspoon of ground ginger. So got our ginger here. I'm also going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. Okay, and next let's go in with our sugar. So I've got myself a big thing of dark brown sugar here, and we're going to need about 1/2 cup of this. So going with my 1/2 cup. You probably could use regular white sugar for this recipe, but I think that brown sugar gives it much more of a warm flavor. I'm sure that's because it has molasses mixed into it, so molasses is also a pretty warm flavor. So here's my 1/2 cup going in there. Here's our dry ingredients so far, and we're gonna mix these all together. Next, let's go in with our eggs. So we've got 2 eggs. And then next we will need 6 tablespoons of our maple syrup, 6.5 actually. Oh, I love maple syrup. That smells really good. Then our next wet ingredient is the butter. I took the liberty of melting my butter. You'll need 13 tablespoons. So I've melted mine so that it stirs in a bit better. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour it in there. Next, I will start to mix it using my big stand mixer. I guess it's a hand mixer, actually. Okay, looks pretty good to me. There you go, you guys can see it, nice and uniform. Probably going to stir in this powder in a second with a spoon. Okay, so I've got my loaf pan. As you can see, I lined it with foil, and I also sprayed a little bit of oil in there so it doesn't stick. So I'm going to start pouring it in. This is smelling really good. You know, if you wanted to, you could even add walnuts or pecans to this. I didn't feel like adding it today because I wanted mine to be a little softer, like a cake, more than a, I don't know, brownies or maybe something that usually have nuts in them. But I think some nuts would be pretty good in this if you ever want to try that out yourself. So here's what it looks like now. I'm going to smooth it out so that when it bakes, it doesn't look so lumpy. And then we're going to put it into the oven at 350 for about 40 to 50 minutes. Be sure to keep an eye on it, see if it looks like it's, you know, ready after 40, then take it out. But if it needs that extra 10 minutes, then go ahead and leave it in there. So here's what it looks like after I smoothed it out. So yeah, I'm going to go put this in the oven, and I'll see you when it's done. Okay, so after letting my cake cool for a bit out of the oven, I just pulled it out, and it's looking really tasty. Be sure when you make yours to do the toothpick test on it, which is when you get a dry toothpick, you stick it in the middle, and then if you pull it out, the toothpick should come out dry. It shouldn't have any batter stuck to it. If it does, that means it's raw in the middle, so you need to keep cooking it. But I did the test on mine, and it came out all good. So before I slice it, I actually wanted you guys to hear how nice and crispy it sounds with the knife. When you cook loaf cake, it should sound something like this when you tap on it. Hear how it sounds nice and crispy like that? That means it's going to have a nice little crust when we cut into it. So I cut myself off a pretty small slice here because I actually made this cake for my dad's birthday, so I wanted him to have most of the cake for later. So yeah, I just cut off a little piece from the end here. So I'm going to top it with some maple syrup and a little bit of sprinkle of some sea salt. So let's do it. All right, that looks pretty good. And then let's add our sea salt. I think I'm gonna sprinkle some into my hand first, and then just use it lightly and pinch it on the top. All right, moment of truth. It's got a nice little crumble to it. That's always a good sign. Oh, it's really good. That salt really does bring out the spiced flavors that we used. Wow, I'm very happy with this. Yeah, I hope you guys try this recipe. I think you'll really like it. All right, so that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you guys try this recipe out. It's super tasty, and it's a really good fall recipe to use up some maple syrup if you have any extra, or if you just really love maple flavor and fall flavors like I do. So thank you so much for making this maple syrup loaf cake with me. Goodbye.